going to start with a PowerPoint presentation. All righty. So here is the PowerPoint presentation, and this seminar, this workshop is called, this webinar is called You Are More. Okay, so for those of you who are watching this for the first time, my name is Mike Love, and I write books, and I work with individual clients here in my office. And right now, I'm in the process of figuring out how to go online and reach out to people. So for those of you who don't know me, I've been working with alternative healing modalities and spirituality for about the past 15 years. And for about that same period of time, I've been working with a trance channel and communicating with a group of non-corporeal entities that we refer to simply as the team. Now, I've written several books that present information that we've received during these sessions. And today I'd like to share with you some insights about letting go of past limiting beliefs and embracing new beliefs about who you are and what you are. These new beliefs will help you to feel more love, help you to just feel more in general, and will help you to feel more alive. So, the agenda for today is to talk about truth and old beliefs. And the next thing we're going to talk about is self-limiting beliefs. We're going to follow that up with new beliefs for the 21st century. And then I'm going to do a quick overview of the 12 rays. And then I'm going to dive a little more deeply into the rays of aspect and share with you the concept of our divine heritage that they represent. And then I'll jump into the rays of aspect practical applications. And I'll give you a little preview of the next webinar, which is going to feature the rays of experience, which are rays 4 through 7. And then there's a little special thank you at the end of this. So, truth. I think you'll agree with me that these are extraordinary times that we are living in. And I think it's not an overstatement to say that things are changing rapidly. Maybe now would be a good time to take a look at some beliefs we've all been holding for a long time. Have you ever heard the saying that humans only use 10% of their brains? This has been scientific fact for more or less 100 years, and it simply isn't true. It made sense 100 years ago, but recent discoveries have proved it to be untrue. And I'd like you to think about the model of the atom that we all learned about in school. You know, the electrons circling around the nice steady orbits around the nucleus. Well, quantum physics has created a much different model of the atom for us these days. And relax, I'm not going to go into a discussion of quantum physics, and primarily because I'm not qualified to do that, but I also don't want to take up a lot of time talking about quantum physics. So we've got these old beliefs that are no longer factual. And here's a quote from the team that I'd like to share with you. And the quote is, "It's hard to believe in something new until you are willing to let go of something old." So I think that's very appropriate for us today. So what are some old beliefs, other than the scientific beliefs, that we were more or less all raised in? Well, if you were raised in a religious tradition that I was raised in, these are some of the beliefs. We are broken and we need to be fixed. Our second one is, we're born as sinners. And a third one is, at the end of our life, we are judged. So what if those old beliefs no longer were true? And what if we could replace those old beliefs with, well, if you aren't broken, you don't need to be fixed. And if we're not born as sinners, does sin really exist? And if sin really doesn't exist, then we don't need to be forgiven. And are we really judged at the end of our lives? And if we're not, then we don't need to be saved. So let's move on to maybe some personal beliefs that you have about yourself that may or may not be true, but probably could be considered to be self-limiting beliefs. So let me ask you a quick question. Have you ever felt held back by your own limiting beliefs about yourself? Let me give you an example. I'm not fill in the blank enough. I'm not good enough. I'm not young enough. I'm not rich enough. I'm not talented enough. It goes on and on, fill in the blank. Have you ever heard yourself saying that about yourself? Now, would you rather have the attitude, oh yes, I can, rather than I can't? Would you rather believe that you have unlimited resources at your disposal to accomplish your goals, rather than believing that there is never enough? Well, the webinar is about letting go of old beliefs and embracing new, empowering beliefs that will change your life. So, if we're ready to let go of the old beliefs, I'm broken and need to be fixed, what do we replace that belief with? Well, an understanding that life experiences are the way we learn. They're learning opportunities that create growth, personal growth. And now, rather than saying, no, I can't, how about saying, yes, I can? And rather than saying, there's never enough, how about learning how to attract resources to you? So let me talk a minute about the 12 rays and exactly what they might be. According to the team, here's a definition. The rays are a fine vibrational energy, and each ray, each of these 12 rays, is filtered down from source through the cosmic realms into your solar system and into Earth. They are truly the clothing for the energy that you are. Each ray perfect unto itself. Each ray an aspect, whole, yet focused on the individual aspect. Now, as you can see from the chart here, these 12 rays are divided into 3 groups: the rays of aspect, the rays of attributes, and the rays of soul integration. Before I go any deeper in here, I'd like to also share with you that I've had the opportunity to have artwork created for each one of the rays. And I've also had the opportunity to create music. It's not my own, it's Richard Schulman's. It's also not my own artwork. And we have one original piece of artwork and one musical track for each ray. And I've actually taken these and blended them together on my website, 12rays.com. So the nice thing about these is that these are all free. I'm not trying to sell you anything. So you can go ahead and see all of the artwork and listen to all the music at 12rays.com. So getting back to how the rays are differentiated. The first 3 rays are called the rays of aspect. And that's what we want to focus on today. So the first ray is the ray of divine will. Now, divine will has a different meaning than perhaps what you're used to hearing in church. This divine will has to do with the fact that we are created by the Creator, and The divine will is that the Creator's creations continue the act of creation. So that's the first ray. The second ray is the ray of love and wisdom, and that's straightforward. And the third ray is the ray of active intelligence, and this is the ray of manifestation. And I like to refer to this ray as the get her done ray. This is the ray you use in order to actually see things, actually to achieve your goals. And interestingly enough, the law of attraction is part of this third ray. So, another aspect of working with the rays of aspect is when we begin working with them, the first three rays, we embrace our divine heritage. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, you may have heard the expression, the saying, we are spiritual beings having a physical experience. That was expanded upon by a Nobel-winning physiologist by the name of John Eccles, who said that we have to recognize that we are spiritual beings with souls existing in a spiritual world, as well as material beings with bodies and brains existing in a material world. So we have dual heritages. So we have our family ancestry, and every human body, more or less, is like every other human body, and each one has hundreds of muscles that allow us to move around freely. But here's a question for you. How many of us can run a 4-minute mile? I sure as heck can't. How many of us can lift 300 pounds above our heads? Not me. And how many of us can throw a touchdown pass? Not anymore. And yet, there are many individuals who specifically train to be able to accomplish these things. So while the potential is there, most of us have not perfected the ability to do these things, and that's fine. Now, have you ever thought about your spiritual ancestry? Just as your physical body is influenced by the physical genes that you inherited from your human parents, your soul has spiritual genes that you inherited from the Creator. And I refer to these spiritual genes as our divine inheritance. Now, think about your spiritual potential. Your divine inheritance is just waiting for you to begin to start your training. One way to do that is to practice using the 12 rays, and in particular, the first 3 rays, the rays of aspect. And now let's dive a little more deeply into those first 3 rays, and I'll show you how to use these rays and get extraordinary results. Just want to check and make sure there's no one waiting on me, and there's not. So let's talk about our divine heritage. When we embrace our divine heritage, we use our creative abilities to set goals for ourselves. We decide to create out of love and not out of fear. And we can manifest our desires and our goals by learning to focus our attention. When we work with the first 3 rays, we see the first ray as the energy of creation. We see the second ray as the energy of love and wisdom. And we see the third ray as the energy of active intelligence or manifestation. Now, when I look at this, what I see is a trinity. And having been raised in a Christian tradition, it's easy for me to say, well, that looks like a Christian trinity. The difference is, though, these rays descend down from source through the cosmos, and they come to Earth, and they're ours to use. So what we're doing is actually, when we use these three rays, we're creating our own trinity within ourselves. So let's talk about some practical applications of the first ray. Now, I've written a book that actually offers 5 different practical applications for the first 3 rays, and it's called the 12 Rays Practical Applications. And I call it the foundational level individual workbook. There's also a foundational level practitioner workbook, whether you're a practitioner or an individual. And the reason I call it foundational level is because I think all the rest of the work with the rays is based upon these first 3 rays. So when we use the first ray, it's really the creative force. So we use it to formulate our vision of what we want to create. So we use imagination. We can also use the first ray, very interestingly enough, to identify resistance to change, because very often when you create a vision for yourself, you come across resistance to it. And it's very important to be able to address that resistance in order to be able to create the goals that you're envisioning. So we use the first ray to identify resistance to change. And this also includes, interestingly enough, identifying the sources of stress. So we'll see how we combine the first ray with the third ray. The first ray is used to create the identification of what the resistance is or what the source is. And the third ray is actually used to create the plan, to move beyond it, to move forward. Okay, the second ray. Second ray is the ray of love and wisdom. And we use the second ray to connect with divine love. So when we do this, when we actually use the second ray to connect with divine love, you're going to feel yourself surrounded by this energy. And if you are feeling any notions of loneliness, you are going to begin to feel them lessen and become less and less and less until hopefully they're gone altogether. And when you work with the second ray is called the ray of love and wisdom. And most people don't connect these two. What has love to do with wisdom, and what has wisdom to do with love? And they're actually quite logically connected with each other. So how does something become wisdom? It becomes wisdom. We have knowledge that we gather, and it's not yet wisdom until we experience it in some way, shape, or form. And I would argue that our experience adds love to it, and then it becomes wisdom. Now, moving on with practical applications for the third ray. As I said earlier, we use the third ray to manifest our goals. So we decided, using the first ray, what our goals are. And using the third ray, we can create a step-to-step detailed plan that says, this is what you do first, this is what you do second, this is what you do third, this is what you do fourth. And when you've completed all the steps, however many there are, you will have achieved your goal. We also use it, as I mentioned, in connection with the first ray, so that once you have either identified your resistance to change or identified your stressors, you can then also create a plan to move beyond the resistance to change to move beyond the stressors, because stressors are always individual, they're always personal. And what stresses you is going to be different than what stresses me, and what stresses me now is different than what stressed me 5 years ago. So it's stressors can always be dealt with, and it's very easy to move beyond the stressors and just decrease your overall level of stress. Now, one of the things that I found most interesting about this third ray is that the law of attraction is part of this third ray. So I know the law of attraction has been talked about, and they've made movies about it and everything, but to me the most important part of the law of attraction, of working with the law of attraction, is learning to focus your attention. So attention is part of successfully using the law of attraction. You have to maintain your focus, and you have to maintain your attention on what your goals are. So that's a quick rundown of the rays in general, and in particular the first 3 rays. As I said, my book, The 12 Rays Practical Applications, takes you more deeply through each one of the rays, and in the book there's guided journeys that will help you to work through the issues that you're dealing with. Also, these guided journeys are rather long, so what I've done is I've recorded them as audio files, and they're also on my website at 12rays.com. So all of the guided journeys that are in the 12 Rays Practical Applications are all on the website, and they're all free also. So let's begin and wrap this up a little bit. I'd like to thank you for taking time to participate in this evening's webinar. I hope you found this a little bit interesting, a little bit insightful. Now, the next webinar is scheduled for September 24th at 7 p.m. also. And during that webinar, I'll be discussing the rays of experience, which are rays 4 through 7. These rays are also called the rays of attributes. And I want you to keep in mind that the 7th ray is also referred to as the violet flame of Saint Germain. So you probably already have heard of the law of attraction, which is the 3rd ray, and you might have also heard of the violet flame of Saint Germain. Well, that's the 7th ray. So let me give you another quote from the team that kind of outlines why these rays are important, the rays of experience. And here it is. Do not skip over the rays of attributes or rays of experience, for it is these energies that the individual can use in your experience, in your life experience, to raise yourself through the hardships you create, through the trials, through the challenges. And as you move to the higher energies, know that there is a progress. So that'll be in 2 weeks from tonight, and I hope you'll be able to make it. If you can't, again, I will record it and put that out on the website. Now, I have a special thank you, and I'm excited to announce the launch of my new book, which is entitled Create Your Life with Grace and Ease. And this book, it's coincidentally enough, has practical exercises for the rays of experience, the rays that we're going to talk about next time. So now, what I'm going to do for the next 5 days, because this is a brand new book and I'm launching it, is I'm going to set the price of the ebook, which is on Amazon, to 99 cents. So that's a pretty reasonable deal. This book is actually full color, and it's a beautiful book. This is the first one I've ever done in color. The ebook is just beautiful. The printed book is beautiful too, but the regular book, the printed book sells for $14.95, and the ebook is going to sell for $7.95. So this is a pretty good deal. And as I said, it covers the next 4 rays, the rays of experience. And what I'm asking is that if you could read a chapter or two and then go to Amazon and write a quick review. It doesn't have to be a short story. It can be a couple of sentences. That would be more than enough. And hopefully, if you enjoy the book, you could put down a 5-star review. If it's not a 5-star for you, then put however many stars it is. But this would really help to get the message out about the rays, because getting these reviews and getting 5-star reviews on Amazon just pumps it up higher in the advertising queue so that more people get to see it. So that's all I have to share for you this evening. I'm glad that I had this opportunity to record this for you. And as I said, I'm going to put it out on the website, and hopefully you can view it when you get a chance. So I just wanted to stop sharing that PowerPoint and just show you this book, how nice it is. I mentioned earlier that we have artwork for all of them. We have full-page artwork for each one of the rays that are in here. I'm really happy with it. It's the first one I've done is full color. So that's it for tonight. Thanks a lot. Hope you get something out of this, and hope you can watch it at your convenience. And I will see you soon. Bye-bye.